Beyond the Red House, where we turn trauma into triumph and pain into purpose. I'm Kayla Valterno, author of I Was Once the Girl in the Red House, and I believe in the power of authentic healing stories. This is a space where your voice matters, your story heals, and your journey inspires others to break their own cycles. Whether you're just beginning your healing or years into building your new life, you belong here. Let's explore what it means to move beyond the red houses that hurt us and build the lives we actually deserve.
Welcome back to Beyond the Red House. I'm Kayla, and today I want to talk about something I struggle with constantly. Something I know a lot of you struggle with too, and that's imposter syndrome. That voice in your head that tells you you're not good enough, that you don't deserve success, that any minute now everyone is going to figure out that you're a fraud. That feeling of being an imposter in your own life. Let me be really vulnerable with you for a minute. I wrote and published a book about my trauma, essentially, about going no contact with my mother, about breaking generational cycles. It's out there in the world with my name on it. I'm literally a published author, and yet I constantly forget that fact. I minimize it. I downplay it. Because there's this voice in my head that says, who cares? Why would anyone want to read what you have to say? You're not a real writer. Real writers are other people, not you. And I have this podcast, right? I have lots of episodes out now. I have listeners. I have people who reach out to me and tell me things that have helped them. And still, that voice says, why would anyone want to listen to you talk? Who are you to give advice? Who are you to think your story matters? It's exhausting, but I know I'm not alone in this. Here's what I've realized about imposter syndrome, especially for trauma survivors. It makes perfect sense why we feel this way. When you grow up being told that you're not enough, that your feelings don't matter, that you're the problem, maybe you're too much, or not enough, or you're doing things wrong, you internalize that. You carry those messages into adulthood, and they become that voice that questions everything that you do. For me, my mother constantly made me feel like I was never good enough. Nothing I did was right. My accomplishments were always minimized or ignored. My feelings were dismissed. My voice was silenced. So now, even when I achieve something, even when I create something meaningful, there's this deep-rooted belief that doesn't count, that I don't count, that I don't matter. Imposter syndrome for trauma survivors isn't just about doubting your professional abilities. It's deeper than that. It's doubting your right to exist as you are. It's doubting that you deserve good things. It's waiting for the other shoe to drop because you've been conditioned to believe that you're fundamentally flawed. Let me tell you what imposter syndrome looks like in my everyday life. I will finish recording an episode and immediately think, that was terrible. Why did I say that? No one's going to want to listen to this. And after I edit it, I usually go, oh, it wasn't that bad. I did better than I thought I did. Or maybe I get a message from someone that says my memoir helped them, which I have received a lot of messages, and it's beautiful and amazing. But instead of feeling proud, I feel like they're just being nice. It probably wasn't that helpful for them. I tend to compare myself to other authors who have multiple books. I'm like, how am I called an author? I only have one book. Or other podcasters who have millions of listeners. Or other people sharing their stories. And I think, wow, they're the real deal. They know what they're doing. I'm just fumbling through this. I look at my accomplishments and I attribute them to luck, timing, anything except my own abilities and very hard work. I truly struggle to introduce myself as an author, even though I literally am. I struggle to feel confident in what I'm saying when I'm speaking, even when I know it's true or if it's helping people. I constantly second guess myself. I constantly feel like I'm one step away of being exposed as someone who has no idea what they're doing. The more you achieve, it seems the worse imposter syndrome can get. Because now there's more to lose. There's more people watching. Now the stakes feel higher. So instead of success building your confidence, it actually fuels that voice that says, see, Now everyone will realize you're not actually qualified for this. I've had moments where I thought about stopping the podcast because that voice gets so loud, thinking no one cares what you have to say. You're not really helping anyone. You're just talking into the void. Other people do this better. And I have to actively fight against that voice to keep showing up not only for myself, but for my listeners. So, why do trauma survivors specifically struggle so much with imposter syndrome? First, we were often gaslit about our own experiences. We were told that things that happened didn't happen, that our memories were wrong, that we're too sensitive or dramatic. So, we learned to not trust our own perception of reality. And if you can't trust your own perception, how can you trust your own abilities? How can you feel confident in your decisions? We also often were scapegoated or made to feel like we were the problem. So we internalized that belief that we're fundamentally defective. That means when good things happen, they often feel like flukes, like a mistake, something we don't deserve, and it'll be taken away. Many of us became hypervigilant and perfectionists as survival mechanisms. We learned that we had to be perfect to be safe, to be loved, to avoid punishment. So now, anything less than perfect feels like failure. And since perfection is impossible, we are constantly feeling like we're failing, like we're imposters who are barely holding it together. We often didn't receive validation or encouragement growing up. Our achievements were minimized. Our efforts were criticized. Our successes were either ignored or somehow turned into reasons we weren't good enough. So we never developed that internal sense of, I'm capable, I'm good at things, I deserve recognition. Instead, we developed a deeply rooted belief that we're not good enough. And here's what I'm learning about managing imposter syndrome. And I say managing, not overcoming, because I don't think it'll ever fully go away. I'm learning to recognize the voice. When that thought pops in your mind, who do you think you are? No one cares about this. I'm trying to pause and notice it and say, that's my trauma talking. That's the internalized voice of people who made me feel small. That's not the truth. That's not reality. That's just old programming running in the background. I'm also learning to collect evidence against it. When someone tells me my memoirs helped them, I remember them every single time. Every person who has said it. It means the world to me. Or when someone reaches out about my podcast, I save the message. Because imposter syndrome has selective memory. It only remembers the criticisms, the failure, the moments you feel inadequate. So I'm actively building essentially a file of evidence that says, look, you are helping people. What you're doing does matter. And you do know what you're talking about because you lived it. I'm learning that confidence doesn't come before action. It comes after. I keep waiting to feel confident enough to keep doing this, to feel like I'm really an author. Feel like I do have something valuable to say. But that feeling doesn't come first. That feeling comes from doing it anyway. Even when you don't feel qualified, even when that voice is so loud, you do the thing. And slowly, confidence starts to build. And I'm learning to talk about it, to say out loud, I'm struggling with imposter syndrome right now. Because keeping it inside gives it more power. Saying it out loud makes me realize how irrational it is. And often the people I'm talking to will reflect back, are you kidding? You've done so many different things. You have a podcast, you have memoir, you know what you're doing, you lived this. So I'm also reframing what success means. Imposter syndrome tells me that if I was a real author, I would be on bestsellers lists. If I was a real podcaster, I'd have hundreds of thousands of listeners. If I was really good at this, it would be easier and I'd feel more confident. But that's not how any of this works. Success is, I spent 10 years starting, stopping, deleting, forgetting about it, being scared, essentially, to put out my story. I was terrified to publish a book. Terrified. And success is, I did it. No matter how scary it was to do, I did something not everyone can do. And I minimize that. I'm like, oh, it's no big deal. It is a big deal. And every time you have something you accomplish that you feel like, who cares? It's a big deal. Not everyone does that. And it's hard to be proud of yourself, and I understand that. So we have to get better about being proud of ourselves. Success is also that I keep showing up to record these episodes, even when I'm convinced that no one cares to hear what I have to say. Success is that even one person, if they feel less alone because they feel seen and understood by what I'm saying, that counts. That's real, and that matters. And what I want to let you know is if you are struggling with imposter syndrome, you're not alone. So many of us feel this way, especially those of us who have a lot of trauma. The fact that you doubt yourself doesn't mean you're not good at things. It means quite the opposite. It means you care. It means you're thoughtful. It means you're aware of how much you still have to learn, which is a sign of wisdom, not being inadequate. That voice that tells you you're not enough is lying. It's not based on reality. It's based on old wounds. It's based on messages you received from people who were supposed to build you up but tore you down instead. It's based on a childhood where you had to question yourself constantly just to survive. But you're not there anymore. You're safe now. You're allowed to take up space. You're allowed to be proud of everything you've accomplished. You're allowed to own your expertise, your story, your voice. You're allowed to feel confident in your abilities, even if you're still learning and growing. I'm going to try something right now, and I want you to try it with me. I'm going to say out loud some true statements about myself that imposter syndrome tries to make me forget. And I want you to think about your own true statements, the ones your imposter syndrome tries to erase, and say them out loud. I'm an author. I wrote a memoir that has helped people feel less alone in their trauma. I'm a podcaster. I create content that provides support and validation to people who are healing. I am breaking generational cycles. I am a good parent who is doing things differently than how I was raised. I know what I'm talking about when it comes to trauma and healing because I've lived it and I've done the work. My story matters. My voice matters. My work matters. Even when I doubt myself, even when I feel like an imposter, these things are still true. Now, it's your turn. What are true things about you that imposter syndrome tries to erase? What have you accomplished that you minimize? What do you know that you pretend you don't? What are you good at that you refuse to acknowledge? Write them down, say them out loud. Even if they feel uncomfortable, even if that voice tells you you're being delusional, you're not. You are stating facts. You are telling the truth about yourself. Here's what I'm committed to doing, and I hope you join me. I'm going to keep showing up, even when I feel like an imposter. I'm going to keep writing, keep recording, keep sharing my story, even when that voice tells me no one cares. I'm going to practice looking in the mirror and saying that I'm an author. I'm going to practice owning my accomplishments instead of deflecting them. And when someone tells me that my work has helped them, I'm going to say thank you instead of, oh, it was nothing. And I'm sure it wasn't that helpful because that's not it. It is helpful, and I'm allowed to acknowledge that. I'm going to work on believing what other people see in me, even when I can't see it myself yet. And I'm going to trust that maybe, just maybe, they're seeing the reality and I'm the one distorted by the trauma. Imposter syndrome is a liar, a very convincing liar, especially to those of us who were taught not to trust ourselves, but it's still a liar. And every time we show up anyway, every time we create anyway, every time we own our accomplishments, we are taking power back from that voice. We are proving that we're not imposters. We're the real deal, even when it doesn't feel like it. You're not an imposter. You're someone who survived something very hard and now is doing something meaningful with that survival. That's real, that's valid, and that matters. Thank you for being here and for listening to me work through this. And thank you for continuing to show up in your own life, even when you feel like you don't know what you're doing. You're doing better than you think. I'm proud of you. I'll see you in the next episode.
Your healing matters. Your story matters. And you matter. Thank you for listening to Beyond the Red House. If you have a story to share or want to connect, email me at hello@kaylavalterno.com. Visit kaylavalterno.com for my book and resources to support your healing journey. Everything will be in the show notes. Keep building beyond whatever tried to break you. You are stronger than you know. This is Beyond the Red House.